Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. And yes, that title and thumbnail are correct. We are playing Going Second Lab. Thanks to Josh Kelly for coming up with this list and for the overall idea. He ended up winning a WCQ in Portsmouth with this idea in the TCG. And I basically just ported it over and kind of changed some things because we don't have some of the same cards. And made it for Master Duel. So let's quickly go over the idea, and then I will go over the card by card. Starting off with the idea, basically, the concept is draw a whole bunch of cards using hand traps that specifically draw you cards. Obviously, we have Maxi. They don't, so he was playing a whole bunch of things like Impulse and Phantasme, which are really good at just drawing you cards. Impulse, if they activate a card, a monster effect during your turn, you can chain to that, or monster effect on the field. You can chain to it, similar to Havnus. Summon Fire Attacker, if a card is added to the hand, you draw two, and then discard one, or if it's added to your opponent's hand. Phantasme, very interesting card. It draws cards and kind of fixes your hand by the number of link monsters your opponent controls. So you special summon it, you fix your hand, you get a +1 off of the off of that, and then like you shuffle cards back, and then you can also have like a negate kind of. Which is pretty decent. It's like Saravis as well, which is kind of nice. But overall, we're only playing 2 because it only works with Link monsters, and not everyone is playing Link monsters or going into Link monsters. So, like Branded or Kashtira or stuff like that, maybe don't go into a Link monster. Even Labrnth kind of doesn't do that. So we're only playing the 2 of this, but that's kind of the general idea. Use these cards to get into things like Chandelier and Stovey to then basically play on the opponent's turn and set up your plays so that when you get to go, you already have bodies on the field, you already have plays that you can make, you have your traps that are live, and you have the ability to basically start interacting again, right? And with bodies already on field, things like a Lady Labrnth or things like a Lovely or whatever it may be, you have the ability to potentially threaten other cards and to kind of deal with cards in that capacity as well, which is very, very nice. So that's kind of the overall philosophy. Let's do the quick card by card, starting with the Labrnth. We're maxing out on all of the furnitures. 3 Coup Clock. You kind of need to see this to be able to play on the opponent's turn, so of course we're playing 3 of it. We're also playing 2 apiece of Stovey and Chandelier. Just resources. They're super, super good. Hopefully you already know what these do, but yeah, just being able to set cards. We're playing maximum amount of them. They're limited. Of course they're great. And even with the limitations, because of how many cards we have the ability to see, it is still pretty good. Next up, we are playing 1 Ariane and 1 Ariana. I figured I'd play 1 and 1. They're kind of bricks, but you still kind of need them for like big welcome plays and stuff like that. Now, we don't have Arias, which would be where I would cut this, and maybe like a rollback to play the 3 Arias, because Arias would just be better in this situation, but we don't have it, so instead I'm playing a few more names to get my engine online a little bit more. So there's that. Then we're obviously playing the 1 brick, Lovely, and the 2 Lady. Again, I would probably cut 1 for an Arias and stuff like that. Arias is just better. It's basically Coup Clock, but better. But Lady is still very useful. Being able to summon her on the opponent's turn to kind of give yourself protection and what have you. Next up, we have our draw cards. We have the triple Maxi. We have triple Impulse. Impulse just special summons a monster, right? So when your opponent activates a monster effect on the field, you can tribute this card from hand or face-up field in order to special summon a Machine Rescue Ace, which you're summoning the Fire Attacker. And then Fire Attacker, if your opponent, or if a card is added to your opponent's hand, except by drawing it in any capacity, from grave, from field, from deck, wherever, you draw 2 and discard 1, which is great, because that sets up other cards, right? And then Phantasme, which I already talked about. We're also playing a few discard cards, that being Kelbeck and Mudora. They're great to be able to put them into the grave and then interact with like Snake Eyes or whatever it may be. Just good discard fodder. And then of course we're playing Triple Nib. This is like the best card to just stop a turn. You're like, cool. Anyway, Nibiru, you don't get to play the game anymore, right? Or like your board is significantly weaker. And again, going second, this is by far the best card. So yeah, okay, I say by far. It's not. But it's one of the best cards, right? It really hinders a lot of decks. There's like 2 decks that maybe don't care about it right now. Branded, because they'll just play during the end phase anyway and get enough resources back anyway, and it's not really that big of a deal for them. It kind of can hurt them, but for the most part, it's probably not. and then Lab, because they might not even play into it. And that's it. The rest of the cards are, we have one Pot of Prosby. The Josh was not playing a single spell. I just put in Prosby just as like that 40th card. I even don't really want to play Imperm, but I was like, I don't really want to play like another pot because I want the cards in my extra, which we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, I am playing one Imperm just in case. I don't know. It could come up. It's like this is really the 40th card. If I could, I wouldn't play it. But there you go. We're playing IDP. This card was really good. It was very useful. Yeah, that's it. We're playing one Welcome. Welcome's not great. It's okay. Don't get me wrong. It's pretty good, and you do kind of need it as basically just the extra copy of a card to set off of a Chandelier or Snowy Torby or something like that. That's basically it. We then have 2 Daruma Karma Cannon. This should be 3. I'm not gonna lie to you. Instead of Imperm, this should be the 3rd Daruma Karma Cannon. It was so much better. This card was absolutely insane for me, and it was very, very good. It's just a very, very strong card. Being able to deal with Link monsters is very effective, but also, notably, being able to flip a whole bunch of cards face down is incredibly strong. And yeah, it's just one of the best effects right now. Also, it's a really weird thing, but if you flip all of your monsters face down, and then Nibiru, none of your monsters go away. You just get a free Nibiru. It's great. Obviously, we have the 3 big welcome. I'm also playing 2 transaction rollback. Josh was not playing any of these, because he was playing 3 Daruma, and instead of IDP and the transaction rollback and the infip and all of that stuff, he was instead playing 3 Black Goat Laughs. We don't have access to that, but I would absolutely switch like all 3 of these for a Black Goat Laughs, or for 3 Black Goat Laughs. That card is crazy, very good. You can read it on your own, but there you go. As for the extra deck, this is why I'm not playing X-Rev, because I'm only playing the 1 Chaos Angel. I could play more, I just choose not to. For the most part, I do like a lot of the cards that are in here. We're playing a Chaos Angel, we're playing Kalara and Rushka. I have no idea why this is in here, but it's in here. We have Relinquished Anima. No one is playing around this card. It's very funny. It gets a lot of interactions. We're playing a Hita, as well as the rest of the fire package, because why not? It's funny. That's basically it. We're also even playing Solantis, but it's also just targets for Prosby. Most of the time, I just banish those. We have an IP Masquerena Dark, as well as Avermax and stuff like that to go into with the IP Masquerena. We have an Axis Code Talker, just in case, but then, of course, we have 3 Muckracker. And, yeah, that's basically it for the extra. Most notable, Anima, very important. The Muckracker, at least 1. The Chaos Angel, at least that 1. Obviously, Josh was playing things like Typhon and SP Little Knight and the Unchained card and stuff like that, which we just can't do. So, the extra deck isn't as important, but even with that being said, I don't really want to play any of the other spells because they're a little too slow. They're not really going to do anything when your opponent goes first. So there you go. Anyway, let's hop into the replays and show you how this deck performed. Alright, this is the quintessential replay. This shows you why this deck works and how it works. I'm going to start off here with the Impulse on the Unicorn effect activation. My opponent is going to go for the Called by, and I'm like, okay, that sucks. Cashier is not going to do anything. That's going to be a massive issue. This Phantasme is dead in the hand. Okay, we'll see how this goes. Let's see what happens. They're going to grab Birth. I'm like, okay, sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Then they're going to activate the effect, and they banish Hita. This immediately, before I see anything else, them banishing Hita, I'm like, oh, this is Snake Eyes. I don't know why Snake Eyes started playing Kashtira cards for some reason, but they did. And they banished the Hita here, and I go, okay, this is Snake Eye. 1000%. I'm sure that they looked at my extra deck as well and went, is this, like, Snake Eyes? Because I have Promethean, I have the Amblo. Pretty interesting. And I was correct, right? The next thing they do is normal summon Popular Surge, etc., etc. So I'm like, oh, my Phantasme is online. Okay, let's see what we can do with this. So they're going to go through the combo, and I'm like, yeah. Not really anything I can do here. I'm going to wait for the Phantasme. Hopefully there's a good option for this. I have the ability to set these 2 on the opponent's turn. Hopefully they don't have, like, a Baron. Looks like they don't have a Baron line, which is pretty nice. They're going to go Birth, bring back the Unicorn. They're going to go send away the Birth, which is just a stupid play. I don't understand this play at all, but okay, sure. Send away the Birth, go into Flomberg into IP Masquerena. And here I'm like, oh, cool. I get to see 3 cards here while special summoning a guy. yeah, this seems like a great opportunity, so I'm going to do that. And the 3 cards that I see are Nib, Chandelier, and Coup Clock, which is insanity. Holy crap. So I put back the 2 traps. May seem weird. It's fine. Trust. Okay? So my opponent summons 2 guys. I'm like, great, fantastic. I'm going to fire off the Coup Clock here, and then just nib you for your life savings. Away goes the entire field. And they've already used Flumberg. Flumberg wasn't on field. They didn't have anything. They thought I didn't have nib. I drew into it. Fantastic. Here's a token, activate the Chandelier, and the game is over. My opponent just concedes there. Because the thing is, Coup Clock hits the field. I activate Big Welcome. Big Welcome. Bounce back the Coup Clock. I also have the Shuffler now in grave. I also now get to play the game. I get to go for the Lovely, and I get to pop a card in their hand, while also then setting up the follow-up play. That game was cooked. Because of Phantasmic. Let's go. That's how this deck works. It's so funny. Alright. So, here we are with Impulse, Nibiru, and 3 trap cards that kind of don't do anything. My opponent is going to be playing Hero. Hero has been, like, everywhere, because it's also kind of an anti-meta deck right now, which is kind of interesting. But they're going to activate the Stratos. I'm going to activate the Impulse. Impulse is going to special summon the Fire Attacker. They're going to add the Ferris. I'm going to get Fire Attacker. And I draw 2 and discard Rollback, and I drew... kind of made. I do have Nib, and I'm going to use Nib at a weird point, but you'll see it in a second. They of course have the Malicious. Why would they not? I'm not going to try and interact with them at this point. Like, obviously I can't do anything. This is summon number 4. They're going to go for the Polymerization. They're going to link off here into Cross Crusader. They're going to activate that effect there, bring out the Malicious, activate its effect, bring out the, or grab up the, what was it? Liquid Soldier. Out comes Malicious, activate the effect of the Denier, special summon back here, activate that guy's effect, shuffle back. I'm like, okay, yeah, there's nothing I can do here. I wait for the Polymerization. Okay? Now, here's the thing. I'm almost certain that they have the ability to utilize this Polymerization, utilizing only the monsters in hand, right? But, here is my thought process. 1. If they do not have a Fusion Destiny, this stops them from getting DPE onto the field. Okay? If I nib here, which is what I do. Okay? And 2, if they don't, even with that being said, this is still fairly decent for me as a time to nib. Sure, they've already got the use of Cross Crusader and stuff like that, but it still does cut them off of a lot of resources and makes them utilize a lot more of the weaker resources, right? So that's kind of the idea here. Is just like, cool, I'm going to cut them off of resources. They're not going to be able to go into, like, everything. They're not going to be able to do full combo. And so, yeah, like, they're not going to go into, you know, Infernal, whatchamacallit, right? And this ends up being a fairly decent play. I knew Sunriser was likely to come out here. They're going to grab the Miracle Fusion. They do get the draw off of Liquid Soldier. I could have potentially stopped their search of Liquid Soldier, but with Malicious still around, it wasn't really all that worth it. So they're going to grab the Miracle Fusion. I forgot what they ended up... Oh, yeah, they pitched in a Nibiru. And yeah, they end up drawing into the Fusion Destiny. Not really anything I can do about that. Happens. Out comes DPE. I'm like, okay, cool. They do make a bit of a mistake here. Actually, it's a huge mistake. They go for the DPE here. The reason I say that this is a big mistake, if I have Called By, this DPE is gone. And there's nothing they can do about it. It's just gone forever. They don't get to use it. They don't get to interact. It's just gone. Now, notably, I don't play Called By. Called By is not a card in my deck. So, not a mistake, but it's kind of a mistake. I draw Backjack, which is so good here. And I'll show you why. So, notably, I did put the Nibiru token in a specific spot so that I can go for Anima. I'm going to go for the Backjack. It's, most of the time, it's just to trigger Backjack. Like, that's all that Anima is doing. It's just for Backjack. But my opponent sees that I'm about to take a monster, and they use an effect. They panic. It's like, that's fine. That's exactly what this is for. That's exactly why it's Anima and not Link Karibo. I don't care about Link Karibo. It's not doing anything. So Backjack is going to stack my deck, and I'm just going to set 2. That's all I'm going to do. Now, notably, stay with me here. I know the top 3 cards are 3 monsters, none of which I want to draw, or send to the grave. So I'm going to try and shuffle my deck before activating my Backjack. Now, first I go for the IDP. Why do I do this now and not go for the Big Welcome or something along those lines? to get a lady or what have you. Because honestly, I still have rollback in Grave, so I'm more concerned about resolving Ice Dragon's Prison than anything else, right? So my idea is basically, like, this is kind of me just not really thinking too far ahead. Yes, I should have gone for the Big Welcome, but I'm not even sure I'm going to get Lady off of Big Welcome. I actually don't think it's worth it. I think I'm more so going to grab a Chandelier or a Sovitori or something like that, so that I can pitch this other rollback and have Ku Klok actually have something. So grabbing a lady here isn't even my top priority. So I go for the IDP here, just grab DPE, banish a card. Now, notably, I'm like, oh, why did we not summon Stratos? I think this has to summon a Destiny Hero, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, special summon a Destiny Hero. So they do have the Ash for the Big Welcome. Kind of tragic, not that big of a deal, because we do have the rollback. So I am just going to fire the Ku Klok here. May seem kind of strange. We're going to go for the rollback here. We're going to activate its effect. I'm going to pay 4k. I should have done this probably not in the standby phase. I don't know why I'm doing this specifically in the standby phase, but I am. I could have even waited for battle phase to do all of this stuff, but it's fine. We're going to go for the Chandelier here. We're going to set the Welcome Labrnth. This is then going to trigger the Ku Klok in the graveyard to bring itself back. And now we can go for the Welcome Labrnth to bring out the Ariana. I don't know why I oh, yeah. No. Never mind. I'm lying. This then grabs me Lady, and now I go for the Backjack, and I'm like, okay, most of my deck at this point, of the 27 cards, most of my deck is monsters. I just need to see one of the few traps that are left. And it was Destructive Daruma Karmic, and I'm like, oh! That's crazy! Because I still haven't activated the Ku Klok, right, off of the Ku Klok, so I gotta do that. I'm like, that's crazy. Or no, that's not what it was. It was I could activate it off of the Backjack. So they go to battle, and I just nope, no token for you. We're gonna flip everything face down. They're gonna go for Stratos off of the a hero lives, which is so funny, because if you control no face up monsters, well, guess what? It's face down. Comedy. They're gonna go for the Miracle Fusion here, and I'm like, okay, yeah, nothing I can do about that. Out comes Infernal Rage. Right. Yeah, Infernal Rage. Infernal Rage effect. Liquid Soldier effect. I didn't know that it would work even if it was banished, which is kind of funny. Anyway, they pitch Fusion Destiny, grab Favorite Contact. I'm like, okay, how much do I care about Favorite Contact? Like, I still have Rollback. I still have Big Welcome in Grave. I could potentially even bounce a card, because I believe the card that they would summon targets. I even have IDP if need be, so I could, like, target one of their heroes and just banish it, and then boom, done. So, like, rollback is really, really strong here. If they allow me to flip up Lady, like, that just kind of cooks them and they can't really do anything. So I'm like, okay, we'll see how this goes. And again, my opponent makes a mistake. I get to go to main phase. I also draw the second Daruma. So I'm going to flip up a few cards. Yeah, at this point, I get a set for free. They don't have any targets. This is great. I get to go for the Big Welcome here. I set the Imperm in the middle column. I believe I don't know which one's which, but I'm like 1000% this is the middle one. So we're going to activate the Ariana. We're going to activate the Lovely in chain sequence. We're going to activate the Chandelier. And then we're also going to activate the regular Welcome. And yeah, we're just going to set a whole bunch of things. My opponent still doesn't activate anything here. So I'm like, okay. Do we not know what Lady does? And I, of course, snipe. And that concedes. They concede. I hit the Favorite Contact. They concede the game. I draw Impulse, which is very, very funny. But yeah, there you go. Good game. Alright, here we are with Maxi. Let's see how this goes. Now, here's the thing. Okay, out comes Snake Eye, grab Poplar, sure. Activate effect, sure. Now, notably, I do get to resolve Maxi here. I'll show you. Okay, Maxi resolves. But the rest of my hand does not have any of the other draw cards. If they were to have any of the other draw cards, likely I'm still drawing a similar amount of cards. Yeah, sure, it doesn't potentially stop the game, but if I draw into Nibiru, that could stop the game there. If I draw into like a furniture or something like that, that could potentially stop the game as well. And I draw a rollback, so there's that. It's all about luck, and the thing is, Maxi is kind of part of that idea, right? Just draw the cards. My opponent goes for the triple attack, they put back the Ariana. I'm like, okay, yeah, that is the correct play. Pretty good. They activate Birth here, and I go, huh? Because there is no Kashtira monster, and you normal summon to Ash. So, keep in mind, they just activated Birth. Likely, the card in hand is a Kashtira card. I top deck Prosby. Sometimes you're just better. It's that simple. And we reveal the Ariana, which is very funny. There it is. I also reveal 2 Phantasmas, and then Chandelier as the last card. So I'm like, that one. We're going to go for the Chandelier here. We're going to pitch the rollback. We're going to set the welcome, since we already have 2 big welcomes. We're then going to go for the Lady here. We're going to special summon it. They're going to trigger. They're going to special summon out the Flomberg. I'm like, that's fine. You can't target anything. I don't care. That's A-okay with me. And we will pass the turn. Now, stop. You violated the law. I'm going to chain. In the draw phase, we're going to go for the Welcome Labrnth. We're going to go for the Lady here. We're going to set our card. I set the Destructive Daruma Karma Cannon. It's the best one here. I could have set IDP or something like that. I'm just going to go for the Daruma. We now get to go for the Big Welcome, since my opponent can't Ash that, which is great, which is why we go for the Lovely. And we bounce back the Lady, as well as summon the Ariana, as well as trigger the Chandelier. Pretty good. And then I'm also going to special summon here, since my opponent didn't have anything, and we're off to the races. So we're going to grab back the Chandelier. I'm also going to grab, I believe, Kuklok off of this. But I pop Birth. Because again, my concern here at this point is there is a Kashtira monster in hand. Even if there's not, I still think that's the correct play. Okay? I could have potentially, you know, this is likely an Imperm. I don't know what else is in hand. They have 2 cards in hand. Birth seems like the best target. Either Birth or Flomberg. Not really too concerned about Flomberg. I have the ability to transaction rollback to get me another Big Welcome to potentially dodge a Flomberg effect here. So I'm like, okay, this is probably the best play. Let's go for that. But yeah, so that's kind of the idea. We grab up the Kuklok. Great. Now we have the ability to go for the Destructive. And they set Subversion. Okay, sure. So they're going to go for Subversion, put my Lovely into the background. No, we can't do that. So I'm going to copy the effect of the Big Welcome, which is fantastic. And now we get Ariane. I don't know if this should have been Ariane as opposed to Stovey Torby. I think Stovey Torby probably is a little bit better here. I don't know why I go for the Ariane. But it draws me into Nibiru. So it was the correct play. It's fine. My opponent goes for the Link Karibo, and I'm like, okay. I also activated the Kuklok just to, like, okay, make sure that this is live. We have the ability to use this whenever we need to. They go for the Dark. I'm like, A-okay, that's fine. They're going to go for the Dark, steal my Kuklok. It's the only target in there. I'm like, yep, that's fine. They're going to go for Elf. I'm like, okay. Out comes Dark. Sure. Now, notably, keep in mind, they still, at this point, they did not have a second level 1 fire for Flomberg. So I was like, yeah, this is all fine. And then, of course, they go Ash, grab Jet Synchron. I'm like, okay, I know one of those cards in hand. Good to know. Here, we're going to go for the Destructive Daruma. This may seem strange, or at a strange point to do this, but Flomberg, no. Flomberg is the one that can be flipped face up. I'm like, that's fine. This cuts them off of the level 1, the Ash specifically, being able to utilize its effect to go into like a secondary Flomberg. It gets rid of their 2 Link monsters, and it just like overall protects me as well from my own Nibiru. So that's kind of why I'm doing this. Not really that big of a deal though. They're gonna go for the Snake Eye, or they're gonna go for the Link Karibo Engrave. I forgot this card. I always forget about this card Engrave. Anyway, out comes Hita. I'm like, yeah, sure. They kind of just need to do that to get the bodies on field. They're going to go for this guy's effect, and it's Oak from hand. Tragic. So I know the last card in hand. I'm like, okay, yeah, I just nib here. So they're going to search here. They go for the Sinful Spoils. I'm like, oh, can they do anything off of this? I don't think they can. And so yeah, I decided to nib. And at this point, I believe the game is over. If I didn't draw Nib, I'm pretty much still in the game. They can't really do a whole lot that like actually does anything. I have Chandelier as follow-up. I have a whole bunch of cards engraved and stuff like that. Like I just have continual plays that I can continue to make. And that's, again, one of the things that makes this deck in particular very strong is I got that setup turn, that very first turn, where I was basically able to stop my opponent and then get that free setup, which was very nice. And yeah, my opponent concedes. Real quick, wanted to show you that I got to dual level max with this deck. This was the deck that I took into it. And honestly, it actually overperformed. I really thought that this wouldn't be all that good and would kind of be gimmicky. To be fair, it is gimmicky. But I thought it would be a lot worse than it actually was. I genuinely thought it was going to be pretty bad. We're missing Arius. We're missing, like, the Yama and other Unchained stuff. We're missing SP Little Knight. We're missing Typhon. We're missing a lot of these like going second options and stuff like that. And it's also not like a side deck. event, so you can't like side deck to potentially take out things like Phantasme and stuff. So I was like, yeah, this could be like a bit of a problem. This could be problematic for me. We also don't have Black Goat Laughs and stuff like that. The Chandelier and Stovitoria are at 2. And yet it still performed pretty well. I think Maxi really does help, being able to just like stop an entire turn while also drawing you into basically your game plan, which is drawing cards, which gets you into this stuff to potentially play on the opponent's turn, which is great. Love to see that. But yeah, Maxi really actually helps this strategy, and I think makes it a lot stronger. All in all, the deck is pretty good. Do I think that this is a better version than regular Labrnth? Maybe. Maybe for a best of one, I think it could be. But it's still difficult to say. Mostly because of the high variance in such a low amount of games that I was playing. Yeah, sometimes you just get lucky, right? I had some pretty good luck. Other people might not. Other people might have better luck with a standard build, which I don't tend to have. But I think a lot of the nuance of this deck was the fact that I think a lot of that luck, I don't want to say it's taken out, but there's a lot more opportunity for you to play better because of the fact that you're like seeing more of these cards, and you're able to kind of play in a very different way than most other players are playing. And so instead of just like doing the line, you have to actually like think and basically outplay your opponent, right? Knowing when to do Rune Karmic and knowing when to IDP, knowing what to, utilize, knowing when to utilize Phantasme, or when to utilize Nibiru, or when to utilize your Big Welcome, or what to utilize Transaction Rollback on and stuff like that. It's still luck dependent, but I think it kind of takes that away because, again, you're also taking away the coin flip, which I think is a lot of people's big, like, downside, right? People are like, oh, I hate the coin flip. I always lose the coin flip. I never get to go first. And it's like, well, this can maybe help take away that variance and really focus in on playing the game. So I noticed I had a lot of fun playing it. I noticed I played better when I was playing this because I was able to be like, oh yeah, that's fine that I lost the coin flip. I don't have to worry about that because my opponent's probably going to make me go second. And even if they don't, I still have other game plans. I still have the ability to just like set a bunch of cards. That's fine. So overall, I think it was pretty fun. Also, watching my opponent steal Hita is the funniest thing I've seen. So there you go. Anyway, that's going to be it for today's episode. I hope you guys did indeed enjoy, and I hope that you guys are interested in this deck because honestly, it's pretty cool, and it's a very cool idea, and very enjoyable. But yeah, that's going to be it for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye. Shout out to the Frost Guard, my members. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I hope you enjoy the content.